Ralph, can you hear me?
Yo, man.
Hey, what's
Yeah,
going on?
I can. I've seen there was an update on the Skype and my screen record doesn't pick it up. It's like the conversation is open in the new window now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I have a bit of issue with that. How can you hear me? Because I was messing up with the mic also.
I hear you really well.
Good.
Can you hear me pretty good?
Yeah.
I'm just going to set the phone so I can record what we're doing and we can get started, man. I'm excited.
Very good. Me too. I just can't figure out now why I can't see you, like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see you, but it's like opening the brand new window, you know. So my OBS, I don't know if you're familiar with OBS. It's a kind of recording studio. So now I can see just my Skype window, but I don't see you recording in that window, you know. Okay. You see, they keep updating and they keep updating the bloody thing, and it keeps changing, like, you know.
Yeah. They don't know what they want to do. Different rules and regulations, I guess.
Yeah. Can you see if you can press record on your side, the Skype record?
Okay. Let me see. Record. Okay, let me press that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You see me? Right. So let me just set up my phone. Phone is recording. A couple of more cameras.
You have a nice setup over there, man.
All right. I think I have everything going.
BFMG, Black Falcon. Yeah. BFMG, Black Falcon. Yeah. BFMG, Black Falcon. Yeah. BFMG, Black Falcon. Yeah. They say Jay's the greatest. I was banging Park and Nasir to name some of my favorites. Jamming 90s R&B with the chest move, the best move. Hip-hop education by Crush Groove, PN Smooth. When they reminisce over you, my God. Living in the heart of the G when time's hard. Waiting in the line for that cheese, we push on. A book of food stamps in the pocket to lean on. Word, 26 Ave, by the fruit market in BBQ. Slap it on the G with the crown. What the fuck it do? Always had the strap in my pocket. My daddy's Peggy Sue. Found out where he hid it, we sneak it out and he never knew. A 22, gang banging on the low. Riding with the GDs, my life was in slow-mo. Take it for the real deal, I'm older plus I know more. Watching for the score on the scoreboard, the adventures of life.
How you doing? How's life in New Mexico?
Man, you know, life in New Mexico is interesting for sure, to say the least, you know. Being originally from the Midwest part of the U.S., out in Indiana, you know, Gary, Indiana to be exact. It's most definitely a culture shock for sure.
So let's go back to Indiana maybe first. Like, let's start from the beginning. Like, you know, how was life actually in Indiana, and why did you move to New Mexico? But that will come later. So tell me about Indiana, because like I don't really know much about Indiana. Like,
I guess to go back to Indiana, man, you know, growing up as a kid, it was just mainly music, man. My dad, he played he can play bass guitar, congas and stuff like that, so a lot of percussion instruments. And growing up as a kid, me and my little brother would always see his instruments, but he would never let us touch them, you know. Which, I mean, you would think he would, you know, he would want us to learn to play the instrument, because I don't know how to actually play an instrument. I can just pluck at it. But you know, as a kid growing up in Indiana, man, it was a rough life. Basically, the part of Indiana where I'm from, we're on the state line of Chicago. Illinois. So basically 20 minutes, you're downtown south side Chicago from Gary, Indiana. So, you know, had a pretty rough life, you know, kind of came up in the hood, you know, in that kind of area growing up and you know, being influenced by my peers and what they were doing, you know, as far as gang life and gang affiliation and things like that. That stuff was kind of intriguing. It also growing up as a kid, you know, and you know, kind of got involved into some of that stuff, you know, early on, you know, maybe I'd say even before I was a teenager. Me and my little brother, you know, my little brother, he's about 2 years younger than me, so always was, you know, us two together running the streets and running wild, man. And you know, thankfully we had a good mom and dad that would still be there to kind of help guide us and lead us through, you know, staying on the right path, you know. But a lot of that influence that was around us, of course, still kind of took over and led me down a path that I really didn't want to be on. But, you know, hey, I'm still here. So that was really life in Indiana, man. Just, you know, school. I went to high school out there. I didn't move to New Mexico until 2002. So I was already, you know, I was going on 23 years old when I came to Albuquerque. So
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, yeah.
Don't look much like Los Angeles to me. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque.
Well, New Mexico, because my dad, he moved here first. He relocated to New Mexico. And he said, hey, man, you and your brother should come out here. It's nice, mountains, blah, blah, blah. And me and my brother thought it was Mexico. You know, we actually thought, oh, we going to Mexico, you know, Mexico City. So, you know, come to find out, it's like, no, Albuquerque, Albuquerque, New Mexico, okay. Still in the US. All right, cool, fine. We'll go and we'll check it out, you know. So that's how I ended up here in Albuquerque.
Tell me how the Indiana and the gang thing, is it still bad today or it's actually changed?
It's actually worse now.
Is it?
Well, I'd say more in Chicago. I don't know how familiar you are with what's going on out there in Chicago, but you know, that's how it was when I was growing up. It's just now that you have cameras, you know, the social media, you can see it more, you know. It's a little bit more explicit for people to see what's going on. But it was the same way when I was growing up, you know, a lot of killing, you know, young kids shooting each other for no reason, stuff like that. And it's actually pretty bad out there now. It has gotten worse over the years, you know. But as far as Gary, Indiana, where I'm from, it's pretty mellow. I still have family back there, my uncles and aunties and stuff like that. So, you know, it's still pretty wild, but it's not as tough as it is over in Chicago. So, and a fun fact, I don't know how much you know about that, but Gary, Indiana is where the Jacksons are from.
Yeah. Right, yeah, no, I've been a fan of Michael Jackson forever, like, you know.
That's where the Jacksons are from. They went to Roosevelt High School. My mom actually would watch them practice.
All right.
She would watch them practice. They would practice in the garage. They would just open up the door and let the kids come and watch them perform and stuff. And that's how they perfected the craft.
So she kind of knew them, yeah?
Yeah, she kind of knew them. I met Michael Jackson when I was a little boy, man, maybe 8 or 9 years old.
Nice one. My room was, you know, covered in Michael Jackson at one point, like, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The walls were covered, you know. He was the man, like, you know.
He's the man.
yeah. I don't know what happened after. I don't know if it's true or if it's not true, you know. But it's not me to judge that.
That's the same way what I feel. I feel, to be honest with you, it's not true. I just feel the media, you know, put that on him, but you know, it is what it is. You know, we never really know. You know, I didn't know him personally, you know, but I mean, it just didn't appear to really be that kind of guy. But you never know, you know.
Yeah, he was here in Ireland, and actually I seen him passing in his limo. That was after all the allegations and everything. He kind of hid in Ireland for a while, like, you know.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of knew that he's around, but he never roam on the streets or anything, like, you know. But you could see the
Right.
limo going, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. So tell me now. When you moved from Indiana to Mexico, what was that like? You know, what was the difference between Indiana and New Mexico, like? You know?
Oh man, so for sure a major culture shock. So for one, coming from where I'm from, you know, it was kind of a melting pot, you know, because you have, you know, Gary, Indiana, Hammond, Indiana, then you have East Chicago, and then you have, you know, Chicago. So you have a melting pot of people, of course. And growing up, I had a bunch of different friends, you know, Puerto Rican, you know, just all types of different people that I knew. And there was no judgment, you know, everyone just basically got along. We did what we did, you know. And then coming here was kind of a culture shock because it's like what they call old town or old fashioned. A lot of people here are still stuck in their old ways and they don't really want to let that stuff go. You know, hence one of the reasons why New Mexico is one of the poorest states in the US. So, but, you know, it was a culture shock when it came to that, as far as, you know, here I am, a black man or African-American man in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and not seeing many faces or many people that look like me, or, you know, even people that look like my friends coming from back home, you know. And that was kind of most definitely a culture shock, having to deal with that. The food, you know, they have this thing out here called red and green chili. So it's basically like these chili peppers, and they put it on everything, man. I mean, if you go to McDonald's and you order a burger, you can have this chili put on your burger, you know. And I remember the first day here, me and my brother came out by Greyhound. So long day of travel. Of course, it took about 2 days to get here. And my dad said, "Hey man, you guys hungry? Let's go ahead and grab a bite to eat. I'll take you over to McDonald's. We can grab, you know, a couple burgers." And the lady says, "Do you want chili on your burger?" So chili, as I know it, is like chili beans, you know, kidney beans with meat and you know, stuff like that, you know, maybe some corn or something in it. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take some chili on my burger. And I get the burger and I take a bite into it, and it's hot. So this chili is like it's spicy. So the burger is spicy. And I'm like, what the hell is this on this burger, you know? So I open it up and I see this green sauce on it. Of course, I scrape it off to finish the burger. But as time went on, that actually grew on me. I love chili now. I can't eat it now because of my stomach, but you know, it's really good. You know, it's a New Mexico tradition, you know, traditional thing out here. But yeah, most definitely, man, a different vibe, you know, just kind of like that mountain life out here, I guess. You know, it's not a lot to do out here. If you love outdoors, then it's a lot to do. You know, you have the skiing resorts, stuff like that. A lot of trails for hiking. You know, a lot of like if you love four-wheelers, it's a lot of like dunes and stuff out here. You can take your four-wheeler and go off-roading. A lot of off-roading as well. So if you're into that stuff, then New Mexico wouldn't be so bad. If you're more like city-driven, looking for club life, bars, stuff like that, they have that stuff here, but it's not like being in Miami, you know, being out that way, or Chicago, or, you know, one of the bigger cities, Cali or something like that. So, you know, most definitely culture shock in that sense. And, you know, it's been good to me. You know, the people are pretty nice. Haven't had any, you know, crazy run-ins or anything like that, but it's like I said, it's just most definitely. But the good thing about it is it allowed me to like mellow out, you know, not be so wild. And of course with age, you know, I'm 41 years old now, so, you know, a little bit more mature and mellow now from what it was back in Indiana. So
yeah, thanks for coming on again. thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. To me, it's a pleasure talking to people from across the pond, you know, from all over the world, like, you know. So thanks for coming on. And yeah, tell me now. Can we move to music? Tell me about the music and the music production, basically. Not only the music. We talked about the Jackson, but like the music production. How that when that kicked in for you, that when you realized that, look, I want to do that.
Dance like Dane with the Harlem Shake. Get the money and stack cake, never fucking fake. Blow out your noodles with the 40, put them on the plate. If you cross mines, I draw the line, and these are the stakes. Mental Jews for you fools, aqua and I pray. Every bully takes a knee and knocks a lion's prey. Show up mean like a grizzly with his claws out. Bitch, this is my house, I'm snatching all the walls out. Rearrange different spaces like an architect, so nobody knows where I had the guns, gold and paper at. They put the levies on us, pump the fatty on us. They trying to pump us with the poison, make it daily for us. But I ain't buying it, veggie diet and calisthenics. No more tequila and Guinness, Mickey D's and Wendy's. The black fists and black culture was stolen from us. Rev, Jesse, a puppet, and there's so many others.
Yeah. So that's a good topic. I love to talk music. So music, man, started fairly when I was fairly young, man. So my dad and his brother, they were like avid vinyl collectors. So my uncle, he worked for a record shop back in Gary called Earwax Records. And he would always get the hookup. He'd get free vinyl, you know, he'd take whatever he wanted. So he had over 3,000 LPs at one point. And I tried to get that collection from him too, but somebody stole it. But that's another topic. But yeah, so it started fairly young. You know, my dad, he had maybe I'd say about 1,000 LPs. So music was always a thing in the house. Like I said, my dad, he played bass. That was something that he wanted to do when he was young. He wanted to start his own band and stuff, and, you know, sing. My dad he actually has a voice and all that good stuff. So, you know, music was always a thing in the house. And so it started out with like the Motowns and, you know, a lot of those old groups like Toto and the Eagles and, you know, the Jacksons and Rick James and Tina Marie, just a long list of different artists. And one day, me and my little brother, we happened to come across MTV. You know, I think it was maybe the first year we had cable in the house. And we happened to come across the MTV and specifically Yo MTV Raps. And we saw this artist named Kumo D.
When it comes to rap, I'm the epitome. The rapper's title and my title is Kumo D.
And, you know, we're fantasized, we're watching it, we're like, man, what is this? Because we always knew we wanted to like have something to do with music or entertainment or something in that sense, right? Because Purple Rain was me and my little brother's favorite movie. Every time we go to my grandma's house, my uncle stayed there, we'd go right to his room and say, hey, put Purple Rain on for us, you know? Once again, Prince is another one that's a gem as well, just like Michael. But, you know, we'd watch that movie and we want to be able to play an instrument, a guitar, piano, something, right? So we always knew we wanted to be a part of it. But when we saw that Kumo D video, we said, you know what, we can't sing and neither one of us know how to play an instrument, but we could do that. We could rap, you know, we could write raps and make that kind of music. And from that day on, man, me and my little brother, we had a little boombox radio and we had cassette tapes. Cassette tapes were hot at that time. And we would just sit there and record ourselves, you know, singing or rapping raps or telling jokes to each other. You know, we figured out how to do that. We figured out how to record on a boombox. And we just stuck with it every day. I mean, every day faithfully. I stopped writing raps at like 32 years old, but I would write a rap every day from like the age of 9 till I was about 32 years old and perfect you know, my cadences and things like that. And even to this day, I may not be the best rapper, but, you know, that's how I actually built myself up to, you know, to be able to do that, to do what I'm doing now anyways. And so, yeah, it started fairly young, man. Me and my little brother, we formed a group together. And then we took one of our songs that we wrote, we took it to our auntie, because my aunt, one of my aunts on my mom's side, my auntie Valerie, she was working as like an intern for a radio station in Chicago. So, you know, we went to her and she's like, I heard you guys are rapping now, you know, let me hear what you got, you know. So me and my brother performed this song and she's like, that's really good actually. And she took us to meet this one guy who had a recording studio and stuff like that. And we were supposed to work with him, but never did. And me and my brother just kept at it, man. We just kept going with it. And then, you know, when the teen years came in, my little brother started producing music. They had a course in high school at Central High, which is in East Chicago, Indiana. And so my brother he took that course in his freshman year, and it taught him how to hook up MIDI, how to MIDI a drum machine, which at that time was a Dr. Rhythm, to like a Triton. And he learned how to lay down tracks doing that. So then he became the producer too, to our group. And you know, we did pretty good back home, man. We added 2 other guys to the group. So our group back then was called Organized Outlaws. And we were on an album that was called It's Been One by 50/50 Records, which is based out of East Chicago, Indiana. And we had a song on there. We actually performed around town. We had a couple of shows in Chicago. We even did, we were even on the opening act for, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the rapper Twista, but we were on a bill with him. We did a show at the convention center in Gary, Indiana, and he was the headlining act. And then of course, all the other artists that were on this 50/50 It's Been One album, you know, all performed their record too. And so we were kind of making a little bit of noise, you know. This was when I was around about 16 years old, you know. So, you know, at that time we were making a little bit of noise, and, you know, we were trying to work our way into the radio and all that stuff, man. And it just ended up falling apart, just due to, you know, guys, you know, already arguing and fussing about things that hadn't even taken place yet, you know, like money. You know, who's gonna get the most money and this and that. And it's like, let's make the money first, you know. Let's try to secure a record deal or something, you know. Let's do this thing independently. Whatever it was at that time, you know, I was more of the business-minded person. You know, I was the guy that, you know, you'll catch me in Barnes and Noble or Borders reading a music magazine or reading a book on business, you know, or music business. So I was more that kid, you know, as well. You know, I would go after that. You know, I was always intrigued by, you know, education and educate myself. You know, even though I didn't graduate high school, you know, I still was more intrigued by education. And a lot of that was just because I was making stupid choices, you know, early on in life is the reason why I didn't, you know, finish high school. But, you know, of course, eventually I went back and was able to accomplish some schooling, got my GED, and then of course I went to college, and I now have my associate degree. So, and also went to audio engineering school too. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. But yeah, that's where it started, man. It started young. Me and my little brother started it together, and we had a group. We were on, like I said, featured on the It's Been One album. And also, like I said, we did a bunch of shows. That was one of the reasons why we came to New Mexico too, was because me and my brother we looked at it, the closer we can get to LA, the better, right? So when we came here, we met 2 DJs, a guy named DJ Camilo and DJ Kiko, 2 Cuban guys. Were out here, and to this day, those guys are still really hot DJs in New Mexico. They spin at all the clubs and stuff like that, and you know, they have salsa nights and stuff like that here. But we ran into those guys in a shopping mall, and they said, they handed us a flyer to come to our event. We said, hey, well, this is what we do. And me and my brother, we were prepared. We had demo CDs, we had press kits from when we made it into the newspaper, stuff like that. I kept all that stuff. And so, you know, we handed them a press kit. And then they called us up and said, hey man, we want you guys to come and perform at our event. And you know, we didn't know these guys, so we like, whatever, we'll perform. So we show up to the event, and the event is like packed, bro. It's like, man, I'd say 500 people in this place, right? And so we do our thing. We get on the stage. You know, we had a little female there with a camera to take a few photos of us and stuff. And you know, that's kind of where it started from there. And you know, it still really didn't materialize into anything. Shortly after that, my brother, he ended up moving over to Texas, and yeah, he still does the music. He has a huge catalog under his name. He even produced a song for, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the No Limit movement, but it was an artist on No Limit called Mr. Servon, and he did a record for that guy years ago. He produced a record for him, and so, you know, it's been little things, man, here and there, but nothing really, you know, nothing with any meat on it, you know.
Right, but there is no beef between you and your brother. Now you're still
Yeah, no beef at all, man. Me and him are, you know, we still tight. Yeah, actually, we just did a song for an album he just released. I did a chorus, actually. I did a chorus. I did the hook on that song.
You know what's his name? Stage name.
His stage name he goes by is Rolex OG.
So then in one of your videos you said that then after that you start to produce the music yourself, like
Yep. That's a funny story. So okay, so I'll talk a little bit about that. So I didn't start making beats. I was just always I just wanted to be the artist. You know, I just wanted to just put me on the stage and let me, you know, perform a song. That's all I wanted to do at first. And of course, like I said, the business stuff. And then so when I got here, once my brother left, because he was the producer, so he was the one feeding us the music. And he's a dope producer. You know, I'm trying to get to his level. But he was the producer, so you know, he leaves, and I'm like, well, who am I gonna get beats from? Yeah, okay, I can still call him and say, hey, send me some beats, email me some beats. But he was doing his thing, you know, he was still trying to chase and find, you know, contacts and build up a network out there. So, you know, he would send me beats here and there when it was convenient for him, you know, and when he was able to. So I was like, man, this is not gonna work. Maybe I should start, you know, producing beats. So I went and bought a Triton LE, the limited edition Triton, and it was like $1,000. I had like $500. I put $500 down on it. I put it on layaway. It was with a company out here called Grandma's Music, and I had like 30 days to get it out. So I got that keyboard, and then I just started playing with it. What I should have been doing was teaching myself how to play keys, but I was too busy just wanting to make beats, so I would just, you know, mess around with the 16-track sequencer in it and, you know, make a bunch of circus music. And but I would do it every day, man. Every single day I would play with that keyboard. I had that keyboard for about 3 years, and I'd play with it every day. You know, get off work, boom, I'd go home, and I'm messing with that keyboard trying to make beats. And then later on, I was able to get an MPC. I got a MPC, I think I had a 2000 XL first, MPC 2000 XL. And then I ended up selling that. And then I got a MPC 1000. Had that for a little while. And, you know, just kind of teaching myself how to hook up MIDI and play with that as well. And then of course, Pro Tools. I ended up with an inbox. So then I had the MPC 1000, I had that Triton, and then I had an inbox, and I had a PC at the time. and you know, started recording and stuff. We would just record whatever we could at that time. You know, at that time, MySpace was hot, and I had a buddy out here with me in New Mexico, but he's from New Orleans, and he rapped at the time too. So me and him would just record, and you know, put a few things up on MySpace. Some of that stuff is even still up there to this day. And yeah, that's just kind of where it started with me as far as producing. I wasn't producing the music then. We would go to SoundClick, because SoundClick was hot at the time as well, and we would get beats off of SoundClick and stuff like that. I didn't feel that I was ready at that point as far as making beats. I didn't feel I was ready, you know. And you know, of course, a bunch of life happened in between that time as well, because you know, I ended up married. This was back in like 06, and you know, had a bunch of different equipment over the years, man, from MPCs and Roland Phantoms to Korg Tritons, and I mean, you name it, I pretty much had it, you know, kind of like a gearhead. But I didn't really start thinking that my beats were listenable, where I would want somebody else to hear them, until so this was 2004 when I purchased the Triton. 2004. This wasn't until 2008, I want to say, was when I went to my first like little beat battle. It wasn't a battle, but it was like a competition to win. I don't know how familiar you are with the company Open Labs, but they had the Miko and Nico. You remember those at all? Or? Yeah, so it was they would make these keyboards that had computers in them. So it was like everything inside the system. You had the computer, then you had your keys, you had sliders. I mean, it was like the hottest thing ever at that time. And this was when I first started like getting into YouTube, because that's how I found out about that. You know, I started getting into YouTube around 2007, and I started watching a guy named Big Vic, and then I started watching Superstar O, and that's kind of how my YouTube stuff started from there. Then I just kind of went down the rabbit hole from watching those guys, and just started finding out a lot of stuff, learning, you know, different techniques and stuff, and then that's where it went from there. Then I went and I did that show to try to win one of those Miko or Nico keyboards. Of course, I didn't win, but you know, it was a chance for me to put, you know, my art out there and see, you know, if I could get at least one head bob in the audience, you know. And so that happened, and you know, just kept going with it. And even then, I still didn't think that was what, 3 years in, and I still thought my music was trash. I was like, man, my beats are trash, you know. And so just kept with it, man. I just kept going, though. I never gave up. That was the thing. I never gave up. And then, so just to backtrack just a little bit, back home in Gary, so when I hit about 17, 18 years old, I wanted to go to school for audio engineering. So like I mentioned to you, I would go to the music stores and I would pick up these magazines, and always in the back of the magazine, I'd see this ad for a school called Full Sail out in Orlando. And I'm like, damn, I want to go there. You know, I want to go to that school. I don't want to go to college, like regular college. I want to go to school for audio engineering, music production. And I would always get those ads, man. I would call them and, you know, ask them questions. But at the time, I had no guidance, you know. At this time, you know, my dad, like I said, he's here and at that time he was in Colorado, you know. Then at that time I was on my own, so I was with at that time my girlfriend. Her and I lived together, and so I didn't really have guidance like, well, you know, you can go to that school. You know, all you need to do is fill out this information. There's financial aid, there's scholarships. Like, I had no guidance, didn't know anything about that stuff. So to me, it was just like a distant dream. So fast forward back to being here in New Mexico, back in 2008, that's when I started researching again. I said, man, you know what? I want to go to school for this audio thing. So I found this program where I could just link up with somebody who owned a professional studio here in New Mexico, and they would like kind of tutor me. And that was the first program I did. It was called like Recording Connection. So I paid for that program. I linked up with a guy named Doug Geist, who he did a lot of, I know he won a Grammy for a group. It's a Native American group out here. I don't remember their name, Black Eagles or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but he ended up winning a Grammy with them. And he did a lot of sound for movies because a lot of Hollywood has come out here to New Mexico. And, so they'll do a lot of recording here. So he was doing a lot of sound, to picture and stuff like that. So, and he had a multi-million-dollar facility. So he would tutor me here and there. He taught me how to make, the panels, like those panels you'll see in my recording room. I made those. So he showed me how to really, put that stuff together, get the sound right in the room. If the sound is not right in the room, then, everything else is, that's the foundation basically. So he kind of showed me that, taught me some of those things. I completed that program and I still was hungry for more. So a couple years went by. I ended up divorcing. And then at that time I said, man, I really want to go to audio school. So I ended up finding this school called CRAS, which is CRAS. It's based out of Gilbert and Tempe, Arizona. So I said, you know what? Arizona is only about 6 hours away, 6-hour drive away from here. Let me apply to this school. Of course, at this time I'm up to speed. I know I could use financial aid and stuff because I had already been going to school for my associate degree with Central New Mexico. So I said, you know what, let me go ahead and apply to this school. I applied, they accepted me. Boom, okay, I'm set. I have a date to start school. I'm excited. I'm like, okay, I'm really about to change my life, No more working a 9 to 5. I was tired of it. I was ready to just move on and do something that I love, right? So this was in 2010. I started the program April of 2010. And I picked up everything and moved. I moved from Albuquerque to Phoenix, Arizona. So boom, I get out there, I'm working, I'm going to school, full-time at school, full-time work. So, that's tough in itself. And I did that program. It was like a 6-month program. Met some cool guys, some guys that can really play, man, some guys that can really produce. And I ended up linking up with this guy named Wayne Valentine. And he and I did some music too together. We did a couple of songs. Just kind of started learning music. So this is when at the time I was using like FL Studio. Fruity Loops is what I call it because that's what I know it as, but FL Studio. I was kind of messing with that. I had sold the equipment, the MPC, the Triton, all that stuff. I had to sell it because, fell on financial, hardship. So I no longer had that stuff in 2010. All I had at that time was a laptop. I had Reason. And I had FL Studio. I had a bunch of plugins and stuff on that desktop. Actually, it was a desktop. And I had a controller. I think I had an MPK, one of the Akai MPK controllers. And that was it, basically. So I was making my beats in Reason and FL Studio. I would rewire the two together. And so I get out there to Arizona. That's all I had. But at that time, with that program, they gave us a music bundle. Came with a MacBook Pro. They gave us Pro Tools, Logic, a little keyboard, headphones, mic, basically everything you need as a starter kit to get started with recording music. And so I'm doing the program, man. They teach us live sound, all this different stuff about audio, the science behind it basically. And I enjoyed that program. So that's pretty much like where it led me to where I'm at now, man. Like I said, when I finished that program, I wanted to go intern in Florida. I wanted to go to Miami. So basically, there was a couple of people, like big time artists, who had studios and stuff, like brand new studios that they were opening, and they would take students from that particular school, from conservatory. So, I kind of wanted to be in the pot for one of those. And but I just didn't have the funds and the financing, because once again, here I am financing my education and doing everything myself. You know, a lot of those kids were younger than me, and you know, they had mom and dad pretty much financing their schooling. So you know, they were able to take some of the bigger and better opportunities. Me, I had to come back to Albuquerque, and I thought I could get back in with the guy I was just talking about, Doug Geist, and doing my internship with him, but he and I never, you know, connected again. You know, we never touched base on that. So I never got my internship the way I wanted to. I had to go back into the working force and, you know, work a day job, and just kind of upset about that, you know.
In the water with the sharks and the fucking piranhas. The streets are cold, vicious, nothing but zombies and monsters. Them boys shooting like they playing a game of cops and robbers. Them boys watching for the chirp while they stacking them dollars. Try to jack those talents, eat his brains like cold pizza. These boys shiesty, take your broad if she a cold diva. Them retros on your feet, rob you for your new sneakers. That drum don't miss a beat to the tune with a new feature. Stay prayed up like the preacher, pastor, and deacon. If you caught lacking, those goons will convert to a demon. Heavy breathing with hammers out, don't die this evening. Bloody mask on in the alleyway, you can't see them, but you get little and shake fast, those shots miss you. Mama don't have to cry, no I miss you, in boxes of tissues. From GI to the shot, they loaded with the missiles. Let them bang to your brains, the whole family gon' miss you, huh?